Welcome to the Matt Crawford podcast. Maximizing financial freedom, creating an effective budget. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for being here. Today, we're going to talk about something super important, and that is creating an effective budget. So anyone, doesn't matter if you're military or not, should have a budget. You should understand what a budget is, what goes into a budget, how to track your income and expenses, and how to use that budget to meet your goals. So why are budgets important to the military member? So recently it was reported that 75.8% of military and veteran families responded that they carry debt. Also, 51.2% of military and veteran families stated that they had experienced barriers to saving money over the past 2 years. And among veterans, 38.4% of respondents reported that they have less than $500 in an emergency savings fund or no fund at all. And also 80.7% of respondents indicated that their finances caused them at least some stress over the past 12 months. And finally, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's 2022 analysis estimated that fewer than 10% of eligible auto loans and 6% of personal loans to activated members of the National Guard and Reserves were receiving interest rate reductions, resulting in nearly $10 million a year in estimated lost savings. So how does that relate to a budget? Well, if you have a budget, you're going to understand what debt you are carrying, what's good debt, bad debt, and you also are going to be able to understand your income and your expenses and know where your money's going. So both lucky and unlucky for us, our income is public knowledge. Exactly what we get paid is on the pay charts, updates every year. No matter what job you're in, how many years in your rank, your base pay can be looked up online. That should make it easier for you to look at your LES to see what you're getting paid and compare that to the pay charts to make sure you're getting paid the right amount. Finance isn't perfect. They're just like everybody else. They make mistakes. So it is very possible that you might be getting paid the wrong amount. So one thing you should be doing is looking at your LES. While you're in there looking at your LES, you can look at all of your other pays and allowances that you get. So of course you get the BAH if you're living off base or in some type of housing, not in the barracks or dorms. Then you get BAS, which is a substance or food allowance. And that's if you're not eating at the chow hall, dining facility, galley, whatever your service calls it. And there's also those special pay and bonuses, the special duty pay, flight pay. There's so many of them that if you're in a special job that is supposed to be getting that special pay, make sure you're looking at your LES to understand how much you're getting and really to make sure you're actually getting that special pay. So another reason why this is important to have a budget is the frequency of moves and the unknown of potential moves or exercises, TDYs, deployments, all of those things, because they will all have both positive and negative effects on your ability to save money, how much you're making right now or in the future if you're about to PCS or if you're deploying, all of the special pay and benefits that come with that. And finally, I think one of the most important things about having a budget is the importance of your long-term goals. So if you have that budget and you're tracking daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly, whatever that might be, whatever you decide, you can track towards your goals. And that'll help you meet your goals. So what is a budget? How do you make a budget? There's a few steps to make a budget, and there's a few different types of budgeting options out there. First, we're going to cover the steps that I would suggest to anyone who wants to make their first budget or just to review their budgeting process. Step 1, list your income. So if you look on your LES, you'll see your income. If you see something that's missing or that just doesn't look right, this is your chance to put in a ticket with finance or double check, make sure you're getting all that income that you're supposed to be getting. If you're doing something on the side, something after work or some other type of residual income, passive income, dividends, whatever that might be, whatever you bring in, you also need to calculate that as well. So say you work, you have your W-2 job in the military, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then on the weekends you go and you work with a landscaping company and you bring in a couple $100 a day on the weekend. So you would add that military income plus any other additional income sources you have. Step 2, list your expenses. This is a little bit harder because there are so many expenses that can sneak up on you. So you're going to look at your fixed and variable expenses. So your fixed expenses are known dollar amounts that you spend every month. Think car payment, insurance, cell phone bill, internet bill, things like that. And when you look at variable, that's going to be expenses that can vary month to month. So one month it might be $50, the next month it might be $100. Think food, gas, heat, electric, those kind of things that are more expensive the more you use or the more you buy. Step 3, subtract your expenses from your income. Let's say you make $4,000 a month take-home pay, and that's after taxes. That is $4,000 in your pocket. And you did the math to where you're spending approximately, let's say, $3,800 a month on your fixed and variable expenses. That leaves you $200 a month extra. So now you have to decide what you're going to do with it. So the next step, step 4, make a plan and move money to specific accounts. So if you're saving up for a house down payment, a new car, a vacation, this is where you will move money to those specific accounts to separate all of your funds. Having multiple checking or savings account is perfectly okay. You don't need to have just one. You can have a checking or savings account for each pot of money or each savings goal you have. Maybe you have a down payment fund, a new car fund, and a vacation fund. So each month, after you subtract your expenses from your income, you will take whatever's left over and put that money into those different buckets. That's how you're going to save money every month. Also, you want to make sure that you are putting money into savings, whether that be TSP, IRA, some type of investment account or retirement account. So the next step is going to be tracking of your expenses over the month. So in step 2, you listed your expenses, but moving forward, you need to track your expenses to make sure those are actually what your expenses are, because maybe you thought your fixed expenses were $1,000, but this month for some reason they were $1,500. So you need to make sure you're tracking to see how close to that list of expenses, how close you actually are, and make adjustments as needed, of course. So if you're spending too much money, okay, maybe I shouldn't go out to eat this month or this weekend, and maybe you should just go to the grocery store and buy food for the week and meal prep. So the next step is going to be to review your successes and failures. So maybe you spent too much money or you didn't spend as much money as you thought. Maybe you had put away $50 for entertainment, but you only used $20 and you had a surplus of $30. So your next step is going to be to make adjustments as needed. So once you track your expenses of what you actually spent and you looked at where you did really good or where you didn't do so good and you need to improve, you can make adjustments for next month's budget. And that's the last step, create next month's budget. So again, you're going to list your income. That probably didn't change. But if you got a promotion or it was 1 January, the annual promotion, or some special duty pay is now applied to you, you started a new job, or you PCS'd somewhere overseas to a different COLA or no COLA place, you're going to create next month's budget. And with that, you again will do the exact same steps. List your income, list your new expenses, and then just track over the month to make sure you're spending as you expected. So there are a couple of different budgeting techniques that you can use. One of them is the 50-20-30 budget. So you put 50% of your income towards needs, 20% towards savings, and 30% towards wants. 30% towards wants seems like a lot. I would not suggest that, but again, it depends on your risk tolerance, where you are in your life, and how you're living, your lifestyle, and your future potential. So if you are about to move somewhere and you want to try and get a few vacations out of the way before you go somewhere, maybe you're doing a remote tour or something like that, yeah, maybe you need to spend a little bit more money on wants, because you know in a few months or the next year you won't be able to travel as much, and then you'll be able to put more money away into savings. My personal budgeting system is the zero-based budget. So what I do is I budget funds into specific uses or accounts until there's $0 left. So at the beginning of the month, I will list my income or my current balance. So say my checking account has $5,000 in it come the first of the month. I will list out each expense I have. So I know my car note is this much, my insurance is this much. Food, I usually spend about this X amount of dollars on, and so forth until I get to about, let's say, $2,500 in expenses. So that leaves me with conveniently $2,500 left over. Then I'll put some away to savings. I'll move some into a high yield savings account, or maybe I'll buy some stocks, or I'll put into an investment fund that I'm saving up for something. And in the end, my checking account will have $200. My goal is to have $200 in my checking account by about the 15th of the month. And I know that that $200 is basically my cash reserve. So if I need to go to an ATM, I know I have $200. If something pops up and I need to buy a ticket to some type of event or donations or something like that, I know I have $200 in my account ready to go exactly for that situation. All my other funds have been moved, and I know exactly where my money is. My budgeting is all done at once, and I'm done for the month. Personally, I get paid once a month. I don't do the 1st and 15th paycheck. I, about a year ago, switched it over to once a month, and not everybody has that ability, but if you do, that's, again, entirely up to you. I personally really like it because I'm able to budget everything out first week, 2 weeks of the month, and then done with it. I know exactly how much money I have for the rest of the month to spend, and that's always $200. All right, so that is a very basic, simple explanation on how to create a budget. So we went over some of the statistics on the challenges military members and their families face when it comes to finances, and that's with debt or not being able to save or not having an emergency fund or very little in it. Then we talked about the advantages and why you should have a budget. And then we went through the different steps of creating a budget, such as listing income, listing expenses, and then having a plan and putting money into specific accounts for those goals or things that you're trying to save for. And always review, track your expenses, and make adjustments as needed, and then make the budget for next month. If you keep doing that month after month, you will know how much money you're bringing in. You'll know exactly where your money is going and how much you have left over at the end of the month. And if at the end of the month you don't have as much left over as you would hope, you can look at those expenses and see where you need to cut back. Maybe less dining out, less going to the movies, or less shopping, whatever it might be. When you track your expenses, you're able to do that. I hope this episode was helpful to you and you're able to understand why a budget is important, and you can sit down one day, maybe pull up a spreadsheet and start plugging in your income, expenses, do the math, see where your money's going, and make adjustments as needed to reach your goals. Thank you for tuning in.